Good morning, wonderful YouTube family. Lisa A. Romano here, and it's one of those mornings where I've felt inspired by another one of your amazing letters to me. I've got my coffee, and I hope that you do too. I want to share something that I think is just amazing, because it's really important that I get across the idea that all of you that have been following my work for so long are really taking this journey with me. As I grow, you grow, because as I grow, I share this information, and you grow right alongside me, which is one of the things that I wrote to, excuse me, Patricia this morning. This letter is from a woman in the UK, and she writes, "Hi Lisa, I am writing to you as I want to share with you my enthusiasm about sharing your way of help. I work as a psychiatric liaison nurse in the UK, and after my awakening, I see and I feel things in different perspectives. Apart from my recovery, which is huge, I also talk to my patients about codependency and how to look at it and what to do with it. Just sharing a brief information and showing my understanding and empathy, I can give hope and achieve more in terms of supporting my clients within 15 minutes of having a conversation with them than as previously throughout the whole involvement. I want to deeply thank you for just being and sharing all your experiences and your knowledge. I'm giving my clients your name just to look at you on YouTube, and I'm telling them that everything will be okay. I truly believe this as I'm experiencing myself. All the best." I want to also share, which I think is awesome. I wanted to share another email, but I think I'm going to wait for another day, because I want to drive home the importance of what this first letter is saying. What this first letter is saying, which is so simple, and it's so sad that so many of us have missed this, is that you cannot underscore the importance of making someone feel seen. And I really believe that, we've all heard people say that the most important aspect of a relationship is respect. You can have a stoic relationship with a spouse that you respect. You can have a very stale relationship with a spouse that you respect. You can feel respected by your spouse, and not feel very connected to your spouse. The magical emotional ingredient, the transformational ingredient that changes everything, that manifests exactly what you're looking for, is empathy. When you are able to imagine what it feels like to be the person that you're with, when you can imagine how your children feel. We have to remember that just because we're 45 and 50 years old and we have these big mortgages to pay and these credit cards to pay, and that's overwhelming. When you're 3 and the girl that you thought was your best friend doesn't sit next to you at daycare for lunch, or she goes to play with another little girl at daycare, or when you're 6 and the little girl that you thought was your little crush is now talking to another boy and she doesn't talk to you anymore, that's just as deep to those children as it is our problems with our mortgage and everything else that we're going through. It is just as intense, because we have to take into consideration their brain, their state of reality, and their world. Their world is very small. And so these things that happen, these moving parts that happen in their world are devastating. And they don't have the cognitive ability to use logic and reason to understand why. The little girl that played with you for 4 days straight doesn't want to sit next to you anymore at lunch. It's devastating to a child. So what we need to do as aunts and uncles, for those of us who don't have children, and when it comes to children and moms and dads, grandparents, therapists, counselors and teachers, we can't keep brushing these kids aside and act like their feelings don't matter, because that's wounding them. This letter from this wonderful nurse in the UK is stating a very simple fact, that instead of listening to a patient and just taking a mental health history, she's actually spending a few minutes empathizing with where they are now and how difficult it must be for where they are now, relating to that person. Now, why is that the key ingredient to relationships and being able to move people, especially those of us who believe that we're here to do light work, that we're light workers? Because psychologically, by the time a child is 3 years old, he or she should feel seen psychologically on a psychological level. I am real. I matter. Mommy cares about me. When I cry, she listens. It's important. I can integrate these emotions. It's okay to feel negative emotions. It's okay to express myself. It's okay. And if you can understand that, what happens in the chakra system is when we are wounded, our root chakra gets wounded because we feel unworthy. And so we feel this kick in our stomach. And if we have healthy parents and healthy teachers and healthy therapists, what will happen is the emotion is allowed to come through the chakra system, up, into the heart space. And then the child is encouraged, or people are encouraged, patients are encouraged to speak their truth through the throat chakra. And when we do that, we integrate, we assimilate, we become self-aware, we become self-integrated, mind, body, and soul. When someone feels seen, they integrate. You help this person integrate by witnessing their reality. Now, in a normal course of life, our mothers and fathers were supposed to do that for us. But we have to become the eye in the sky. And we can't just have limited views. We have to become like Mozart and hear what three keys on a piano can become, where most piano players will just hear 3 notes. Mozart heard a symphony. So we have to become the eye in the sky, see the big picture, and understand that our mothers and our fathers, they may have been born in the 1940s, the 1930s, the 1920s. Their mothers may have been born in the late 1800s. So if you look back at your history, and then your great-grandmother may have been born in 1860, or 1840. Keep going. See the generation of mothers and fathers that have come before you, so that you can have some type of a map, which is I'm going to talk about in my coaching program. We have to create this quantum lifeline so that we understand the totality of who we are, so we can release this shame, this toxic shame. Now, our parents, if they were wounded below the veil of consciousness, acting out, dysfunctional, alcoholics, controlling, drug addicts, depressed, borderline, narcissistic, what happens is we never have that witness for who we are. And so what this woman is doing, because of what she's learned from my work, is that all I've done is integrate what child psychology has told us for years and made it more understandable for people to grasp on a larger level, instead of using all these psychological terms. When you cut to the chase, it's really not necessary. We need to feel seen psychologically. We need to feel unconditionally accepted, especially when we're experiencing negative emotions, so that our chakra systems and our brains are unified. Because when we, I call it double jeopardy, when we have an emotion and we speak our truth, like I talk about in The Road Back to Me, in Quantum Tools, all the books that I write, really, it's that double jeopardy is weaved into those pages. We have the original wound, and then when we try to express the wound, we're beaten when we speak our truth. We are made fun of when we speak our truth. We are chastised when we speak our truth. So here that we're trying to bring it up, and the brain goes, flag that, push it back down. When you suppress, suppression causes depression. And so I'm just so honored, and I just want to say thank you to this lovely angel of a nurse, and so many of you in the nursing field. Absolutely, you're angels on earth, and I know that you're very overworked. Teachers are inundated also. Therapists, there's a lot of paperwork to be done now, especially in the nursing community. There's so much paperwork involved with nursing. I know, because I used to be in nursing. And I'm just really, really blessed that this woman from the UK has tapped into the ability to be very human with her patients, and is okay with experimenting with this new form of relating to patients. At least for her, it's not just about writing notes anymore. It's about relating to these patients while she's doing her care plan, while she's taking her mental health inventory and history. So I just want to say thank you, and hope that more and more and more and more and more, as we awaken, we understand the true meaning of empathy, and we are becoming more empathetic with others. But we also have to have boundaries, dear one, because empathy, I can empathize with somebody who's been abused their whole life. I can empathize even with the narcissist, but I will not allow that narcissist to abuse me, because I supremely have empathy for myself. So empathy for the self, strong boundaries, know who you are, know what you deserve. You can understand people, but that doesn't mean that you should have them eating at your table. You know, I might understand why someone's a porcupine, and I could, you know, in love and light, let them go. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sleep with the porcupine. You know, hello. You know, I can understand that someone is severely psychologically impaired because of their childhood history. But if that person is below the veil of consciousness, is not on a spiritually growing path, in love and light, I let them go. Because that person, in their unawareness, in their dark state, cannot help but to try to bring me into their dark state. And so I accept that, and in love and light, let them go. And I begin to cut ties. And again, I can be in a room full of narcissists as long as I understand that I need to have empathy for myself and protect myself first. And then build like this force, like in an emotional force field. And allow all others to be who they are without allowing them to, you know, enter into my chakra system, into my auric field, to the point where I'm emotionally upset. I have the ability to hold on to myself. That's the mantra. Hold on to myself, hold on to myself, hold on to myself. In love and light, dear one, it's my morning throat, sorry. But I was really excited about this letter, and I just wanted to share it because it's so crucial. And those of you, if you start using empathy more consciously and you start seeing results, please share them with me, because I'm collecting this data, and I really believe that one day I'll be able to maybe sit before Congress and ask that codependency and narcissistic abuse syndrome be screened during mental health histories, asking people if they believe that they've been the daughter or the son of a narcissist, and if they've experienced alcoholism in their family. Were there any diagnosis of family members, mental health diagnoses? How did you feel growing up? Did you feel seen? Very, very important. Very, very important. Missing link is to feel seen, and we can only feel seen if we are able to experience empathy in someone else. And so those of us who, very important, Kay, then I'll shut up. Those of us who have not been afforded that sense of self from a healthy mother or a healthy father, a healthy caretaker, we have to have empathy for the self. We have to recognize the inner child. And then we have to feel strong in that and have empathy for the inner being that we are in our reality, okay? So when we get strong in that reality, then we're able to have empathy, really true empathy for our children, for our friends. On that road, the agenda is not to have empathy for people to the point where we're being abused. You have empathy for the self first. Now, when you're in a therapeutic situation or a teaching situation or you have children, we have to have empathy for others, absolutely. But always have your boundary. Always have your boundary. Know your place in the universe. Know your place in the universe. It is not to be abused. If you're dating, if you're in a spousal situation, what you're trying to achieve before you throw the baby out with the bathwater, I suggest that those of us who are in difficult relationships now experiment with having empathy for the spouse, unless, of course, you're absolutely convinced that person is abusing you narcissistically. But make sure that you have empathy for yourself and that you can empathize with that person, and from that place make decisions. If you experience empathy and you start saying things to your spouse like, "You sound frustrated," Yeah, that sounds very difficult. Don't add to what they're feeling. Don't take away from what they're feeling. Wow, babe, you sound like you had a rough day. That must have been difficult. I can imagine how hard it is to sit in traffic for 2 hours after work. You've been in the office all day and then you've got to sit in traffic. As I used to minimize, if my ex-husband complained, I know I did, I'd be like, but I'm home with the kids all day. I'm changing dirty diapers all day. I've got baby vomit on I haven't worn a nice outfit in like years because, I'm busy burping and changing, and how do you think I feel? So now I realize that was my attempt to feel seen. I understand that, but it was lacking empathy. I had empathy for him on a heart level, but there were many times that because I felt so unseen, I just couldn't let that surface because I was so resentful. I really, in hindsight, I do not believe that me being more, because it got to the point where I was just disgusted and resentful because I was more openly empathetic in the beginning, for years, for the beginning of the relationship. And over time, I just grew resentful, which is what happens to codependents. They get resentful, and then they get angry, and then they start lashing out. It's all the cycle. But those of us who are in relationships like this, so many times we seek to feel seen from our partner, and we have to really make sure that we are seeing our partners as well. So empathy is a two-way street. So if we want our wives and our husbands to see us, we have to make sure we're seeing them. If you are a light worker, then you have been incarnated on this planet with a special task. And that task is to awaken and to evolve, and then to share that light with others in your own unique way, wherever you are. If you're a car mechanic, you're dealing with people all day long. I love him. There's this guy that pumps gas at the mobile station, and I get goosebumps just thinking about him, because every time, I say goodbye to him, he hands me back my credit card or whatever. He says, "God bless you and your family." And he means it. So I tease him. So I always tip him, obviously, because you want to sow seeds of abundance wherever you go. I don't care if it's a quarter, or a penny. Start sowing seeds of abundance. Tell the universe you have enough, you have enough, you have enough, and that will return to you. So now I tease him. So instead of waiting for him to say, "God bless you and your family," I tease him, and I say it first. I say, "God bless you and your family," and then we laugh. But we're both light workers. And in that moment, we're sharing that beauty. I never have to say to him, "Hey, dude, you're a light worker," and I know it. I see you. I know he is. I can recognize him as a light worker. And in that moment, he and I exchange that, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's just awesome. So if you're a light worker, and you're drawn to this type of work, you have to understand it's what's the word I'm looking for? But it's an honor. It's a privilege. You have a certain responsibility, I think, to see if you can morph where you are. I tried in my marriage with my ex-husband. It didn't work. I gave it my all, even after I began awakening. I say this because it's so important that as light workers that we understand that we give to others what we seek, and that we take it seriously that we're on this planet to help other people evolve. And I know how devastating most light workers have suffered emotional abuse, because they're so innocent and they're so empathetic and they're so sensitive to other people's energies, and we get wounded very easily. And so there's a lot of pain there. So as we begin to awaken and we begin to realize, like, hey, nobody sees me, we can struggle a little bit. Once you find your footing, I encourage you to experiment with helping other people feel seen. If you are still dealing with, after experimenting with seeing other people, if you're still experiencing this backlash, they don't see you, or they're still trying to minimize you, then you've got some serious decisions to make, because it's not healthy to be in a relationship with somebody who is so dark that they resent your light. Every situation is unique. You really have to, there's no cookie cutter answer. Um, I've covered a lot of ground in this video and talked a lot about the quality of empathy, and I just want to bring it back around to this beautiful letter that I got from this wonderful nurse in the UK. I want to say namaste. I bow to the love and the light in you and the light work that you're doing right there on your unit. And I'm so grateful that the patients and the clients that you get to interview are getting touched by your light. And that's just really cool, because this is how we change the planet, dear ones, one vibration at a time. If you haven't already done so, please take my Google survey, because this is scientific data that I am collecting, and I'm going to be hoarding this data, and creating a true statistical scientific analysis based on the findings, which is what Congress and that's what scientists look for, is scientific proof of what I'm saying, about what codependency is and how unseen we feel. So in love and light, dear ones, in love and light, I bow to the love and light with you. Keep growing and keep shining. Keep growing, keep shining. Bye.